RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good afternoon, Patriots. And welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. And joining me live in the studio, my good friend and co-host, M3. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. I am returning from another road trip. Had dinner with Jim Jordan last night. Pretty cool. He's a great guy. Jacketless Jim Jordan. He did not disappoint. Let me tell you, that guy loves America just as much as we do. President Trump has returned back in the White House, and the mainstream media is going insane. What do you mean he's feeling better? It's all a conspiracy. All right, gang. Do me a favor, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. With the elections only weeks away, you need to be prepared for the worst. Civil unrest is getting so ugly in spots, it could bring the entire system to its knees. And food shortages are a definite possibility, especially since many are predicting a second wave of the beer bug just around the corner. Grocery stores and food manufacturers are already preparing themselves for a nationwide panic. Will you be ready if that happens? Well, you can't wait until it's too late. I urge you to visit preparewithredpill78.com and build your emergency food supply today. The preparedness experts at My Patriot Supply are the only folks I trust, and you can too. And right now you can save $100 on a full 4-week food supply of their delicious, nutritious meals that give you a life-saving 2,000 calories a day. My Patriot Supply is here to help you prepare for the worst, and saving $100 off their life-saving 4-week supply of food is too good a deal to pass up. The next wave of CV-19 could be worse than the first, or the response of people could be worse than the disease itself. Go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. That's preparewithredpill78.com. You'll kick yourself if you don't. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. And welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us once again for another edition of Occam's Razor. This is episode 32, Methods. Can you believe it's been so long?
Right? I mean, I'm still feeling like quarantine was years ago.
I know, right? I know. Jeez, oh,
Pete. But I'm definitely enjoying doing this show. I hope everybody, is as well, and we hope everybody's having a great day.
Absolutely. I wish you all the same. Thanks again for joining us, guys. I might sound a little bit hoarse at times. I do think I'm coming down with something. My throat's a little bit sore, but I have responsibilities, and one of those main responsibilities is supporting the president. And how can I take any time off when President Trump just went through one of the most horrific experiences you can possibly have, according to the mainstream media? But President Trump let us know that this is not something that needs to rule our lives. President Trump spent merely a weekend in the hospital. Even still, he was working every single day from Walter Reed or from an Air Force carrier, or from Air Force One, or some boat, I don't know where he was. He was not in the White House, but he was working the entire time. And so, therefore, I feel like we have to do the same thing, Methods. We owe it to the American people, and we owe it to Donald John Trump. he would work, so we have to work.
Exactly. I mean, every time I feel not necessarily overwhelmed, but I'm just working on a bunch of things, keeping up with all the news and the chaos, I look at the calendar. I'm like, all right, we got a few weeks to the election. Let's take this thing home. But I have to say this weekend has been a lot of fun watching the left be the conspiracy theorists for a change.
Oh, yes.
All the different things that they were saying was pretty ridiculous. Anybody following or looking at Jennifer Rubin's tweets definitely knows what I'm talking about. And also, did you happen to see who was it on CNN that was losing their mind? I have to go look it up. But this entire thing of Trump going to the hospital and then getting out, we watched them say that Trump was about to die. Go ahead and get the casket ready.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's talk about who's going to be next in line. Let's hope that Pence gets it. So we have Nancy Pelosi as the president. So now we have, Trump was lying. And they are even saying that he had Russian government officials or something that were there with him at the hospital.
That was the most ridiculous thing. I couldn't even believe that. Hold on. Let me get those pulled up because it's something that people... Oh, hold on. I am somehow floating instead of in my normal spot. Yeah, but take a look at this, guys. This is freaking ridiculous. Who is this woman? Juliet Kayyem?
Yeah, she's a CNN analyst, and she's from Harvard.
Okay.
Professor, so that they're just right down the middle and in line and really care about this country. But yeah, she definitely here, I'll read the tweet out. It says it is very likely that Russian intelligence agency, I can't even get this out without laughing, that Russian intelligence agency through signal and human intel sources that Walter Reed, etc., have more information about the president's condition than we do, though I think we all know how the president is doing. Well, that's a lie based off of the entire internet over the weekend. And then hashtag doctors lie too, and then I'll agree with that because Fauci is also a doctor. But no, just the whole point of why I bring this up is that it's a lot of fun to watch them on the other side spin things when we have the truth on our side, and they just have to make up things to be more fanatical than their last story. So think about this entire year up to this point, and now they're just straight up saying that Russians are helping him while he fakes having a Rona and Walter Reed. And I mean, that would sound like something that would come out of this movement, right? As far as a theory would be concerned.
Theory crafting. I mean, it's hilarious to me that in the last several years, what the left used to say about us, they are now emulating themselves. Like, who's the tinfoil hat wearing psychopaths now? Okay, President Trump, it's not like, it's totally implausible that he would go to Walter Reed Medical Hospital, receive the absolute best possible care, and then be able to leave. I mean, I think part of it, too, is that they believe their own BS. I mean, they look at the coverage, the things that they say on CNN and MSDNC, and they believe it. That this Rona is quite literally worse than the bubonic plague or whatever it is, and so therefore, if you come in contact with it, your body is going to melt within 72 hours, and that's it. It's donezo. Game over, man. So the fact that he survived, I mean, what's coming next? Like clone theories?
Yeah, I mean, we did on our side, to be fair, have those going around ever since this happened, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're having to completely make up stuff at this point, and to me, I would love to see the side by side of how they treated the president with this, and then when Biden gets it, and then they root for him to survive. You know what I mean? Like seeing that side by side difference. But no, it's just going to get worse because they have to be fanatical about stuff and then sell it for people to believe it because the truth is so damning and it's so straight down the middle. So they just have to keep making things up, and it's just kind of fun to watch at this point. It's been kind of the highlight during all this chaos up to the election for me.
If Biden catches it, I'm going to call this now. They're going to have 24-hour candlelit vigils on CNN. All it's going to be is a single candle in a dimly lit room with the camera in close and the chyron scrolling on the bottom. Prayers for Joe Biden. prayers for Joe Biden. And then the only segment that they're going to have is probably someone coming in and discussing what kind of a president Kamala Harris would be if Joe Biden inevitably does kick the bucket. But yeah, she even continued, yep, that's what part of this don't you believe, that Trump team is lax on security and vulnerable on, or that Russia isn't interested in Trump's health leading to the election they are interfering in. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working so well for America and the hospitalized Trump. So basically saying that it's Russian doctors that are providing the excellent care at Walter Reed Medical Hospital. Wouldn't that be like a major security threat? Like, I mean, you have to get screened. They have to have clearances. They're not just going to let anybody work on the president. So I guess, honestly, what she's saying is that Russia has a better standard of medical care than what we have in the United States. That's what happens with socialized medicine.
I know, right? Real quick, Rosta Soul Artworks is saying in the chat that they think I'm a Libra. Actually, I'm an Aquarius for anybody that is interested.
That's right.
And that, so yeah, that should explain a lot for anybody that follows that kind of thing. But yeah, the conspiracy theory stuff, we know they have to do projection, but it's definitely hilarious because we're old enough to remember the Russia collusion investigation, that narrative, watching it all the way through the 2016 election and everything that they were saying. And they would say, you know, bombshell, 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 like those clips saying, you know, this is the end of Trump's presidency.
The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end was a good one too. And then we get through all that. Nothing comes of it. You know, nothing really, you know, sticks to the president at all. And then we get to this point now to where he then gets the Rona that they've been talking about and saying that's going to end the civilization as we know it. You know, the plague is coming, you know, and then now they're talking about bringing Russia back into the narrative, and nobody can be really buying that at this point. And even if they are buying it, it's because they want to believe it. And that you can't help people like that. If they want to believe this stuff, they're going to.
Yeah. You know, what's funny? I mean, I don't know anybody on the left anymore. So I don't know if people are still like buying into this ridiculous, tired old narrative. I wonder if there is really, truly anybody out there who would read a tweet like this or see her on CNN saying that it was the Russians that saved Donald Trump and actually believe that there's some legitimacy to it. You know, or I wonder if it's truly fracturing the left and they're starting to see through the holes and the cracks in this narrative. You know, I mean, there's only so many times you can hear Russia, Russia, Russia before you just kind of roll your eyes and turn around and go do something else. I mean, obviously that happened for all of us on the first day. But there were a lot of people who were very, very invested in this Russia collusion narrative. And, you know, once again, we've said it before, you know, what is collusion? Well, I mean, I can show you real world collusion. Hillary Clinton and her campaign colluded with a British spy and a Russian agent to create the Steele dossier. And then that was used to try to frame President Trump for crimes that he never actually committed. That looks like some type of collusion. I mean, obviously it's not a crime, but there was some level of conspiracy involved. But President Trump isn't doing any of that stuff. And you would think that after so many years of attempting to put these kinds of things on him, you know, like saying over and over again, you know, this is the one, we finally got him, that they would start to believe that maybe they were being lied to. I don't know. Do you guys know anybody on the left who has maybe had a radical conversion to conservatism after seeing the lies told by the mainstream media? I know it happens. I mean, I know there's plenty of people in this movement who have gone through that. But, you know, I just don't know anybody in real life.
Right. I mean, I had already, and I've said this before on these shows, like I had already started separating myself from people over time, and it wasn't really by choice. I was saying all the tinfoil stuff for years, and over time you just happen to notice that like the calls stop happening as much. Mm-hmm. They move on with their life. On top of that, it's during those times, you know, through my 20s and early 30s of people, you know, moving on with their lives and doing their own thing. And I just really got interested in all this stuff. So me, not personally, but we have met people throughout this movement and this process that have woken up during this and said, this isn't right. My co-host on Methods to Madness, shameless plug real quick, Scott with Woke Societies, he woke up during this, and now look at him, you know, helping and doing the same things we're doing like on this channel. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the point, to show everybody and to make sure that we don't get there again, because people will talk about we don't have to go too much further in this, but we'll talk about why isn't justice happen, blah, blah, the same conversation. It's like, imagine when it does happen, how much we will make sure that it doesn't happen again, because we don't want to even go through the last several years again. So we'll keep fighting through it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm seeing, lots of different answers in the chat. I mean, there definitely are people out there who have, come over to the correct side, the right side. But lots of people are still in deep denial. I mean, the brainwashing is real, guys. I mean, this is a serious situation. And all of these people who currently believe that there is still some level of, truth to the Russian narrative, who might be thinking that we have Russian spies in Walter Reed, or Russian spies parading around pretending to be doctors, or maybe they're actual doctors and they just happen to be Russian and therefore they're going to be reporting back to the Russians. I mean, these people actually believe this. They believe it. And at some point, they're going to have to learn the truth. And when we get that justice, I feel like that's going to be a really, really big part of it. These people are the worst people in the world. And I'm not talking about the regular rank and file people on the left, although there are disgusting people all over the globe. But I'm talking about the people leading this coup against our president and who are lying to the American people. And this has been going on for so long. I mean, yesterday in my video, I talked a little bit about the fact that Gina Haspel has been blocking these documents from getting out. She is apparently more interested in the self-preservation of the agency and saving face, not being embarrassed, not having the agency look bad. Not having, I believe it was the Church Commission. Was it the Church Commission that was looking into the actions of the clowns in America back in the 70s? They don't want another one of those. So they would be willing to lie to do anything. And so therefore the lies compound and they just keep piling on. And that's a large part of why we have so many various levels of corruption here in our society. Nobody wants to take the blame. Nobody wants to admit wrongdoing, even if it's not them that actually did it. They don't want to admit that people working for them or working with them are guilty of this stuff. And they have to pass the buck. They have to make somebody else look bad. And, we're seeing that in an incredible way. But before we get into that, I just want to show you guys the video that Method's got of President Trump leaving the hospital. Now, the left is still saying that, President Trump is deathly ill and don't believe it when you see him walking out of the hospital. So I just want you guys to see it. I want you to see it for yourself. President Trump walking out of Walter Reed Medical Center and walking on his own, without a walker, without a cane, without oxygen, standing straight. Yes. President Trump is such he's a badass. I'm going to say it. He's a badass. That's right. Now, if this was Hillary Clinton, you guys, if this was Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, they would be hugging that rail. They would probably have somebody on the other side. They would be carrying them. He just ignores the questions. He's like, peace. That's right. That's right. You can't keep a good man down. I got work to do. You got fake news to do. Go about your business. So they said, how many of your staffers are sick? And he just said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I feel like we've gotten all of the reports of people who are sick. But what they'd like this to be is a story about the dangers of not wearing your mask and the dangers of not engaging in social distancing, the dangers of not listening to the mainstream media. But unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do that. Their fever dream that President Trump was on his deathbed and that Pelosi would soon be taking over from Mike Pence, it didn't come true. And they are unfortunately just going to have to attune themselves to this reality because this is where we actually live. This is the timeline that we live in. President Trump is strong, healthy, virile, and they can't do anything about it. And they go to bed at night wishing and hoping, I was going to say praying, but we all know they don't pray, wishing and hoping that something would happen to President Trump. And when this diagnosis came in, they thought their chance had arrived, and too bad for them. it is not Donald Trump's time. We actually have a statement from Kayleigh McEnany, too. This is Methods. Take us through this.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick to make sure I've staying on target here. But yeah, no, I agree with you about that. They wanted him to be sick. I wonder how many witches did their stupid hexes, to keep this thing going and all that. But yeah, let me find this update real quick. All right, I've got it pulled up in front of me. This came from Kayleigh McEnany, our press secretary, and she is a savage. A Tuesday afternoon update from President Trump's physician. I released the following information with the permission of President Donald J. Trump. This morning, the president's team of physicians met with him in the residence. He had a restful first night at home, and today he reports no symptoms. Let me say that again. No symptoms. Vital signs and physical exam remain stable with an ambulatory oxygen saturation level of 95 to 97%. Overall, he continues to do extremely well. I will provide updates as we know more. That to me, it's the world that we live in. I guess we've been trained over the last several years, definitely this year, that this would be good news for everybody. Right?
Everybody.
It should be, but we immediately know how devastating this letter alone just ruined people's days. Like Acosta, who yesterday said while Trump was walking back into the White House, he's like, the virus is now entering the White House. Like, it's so stupid.
Somebody make a meme of Trump's head as the green coronavirus.
Right, exactly. Or like, if you've seen a movie, A Scanner Darkly, have you seen that movie when they think the bugs are all over them and stuff? Like they should have Trump's face as the bugs just crawling all over them in the shower.
Right.
But yeah, like they want to call him Patient Zero.
Patient Zero.
I mean, they're really
Trump
trying to
is the virus.
Right. I mean, it does feel like, when you're watching movies and they sign these actual, quote unquote reporters that we see on TV to be the reporters in the movies that are like during a pandemic. Right. And they're like, this just did, and it's all like solemn and it's the setup for the movie. Mm-hmm. They're doing this in real life and they're radicalizing and mentally abusing their audience. They're making people really feel, and how tragic is it that they've got their base hiding under the blanket, afraid of Russia, and they're hiding under a blanket that's made in China. And the it's so ridiculous at the irony they don't see that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're going to keep pushing it. But Trump, all he's got to do is just keep now just being Trump with energy.
That's right.
He does that, and it kills the narrative that in just a few days, he went from being diagnosed to a few days at the hospital, back at it and work. And he's already said they're going to do the debate. There's nothing. Yes. He's already said he's going to do the debate, no problem. And he wants to continue with work. And so he's going to prove it.
Excellent time for me to plug our next event coming up on October 15th, which is the night of the second debate. You guys can join us in Port Clinton, Ohio. I will get the information, the link here in just a moment, and then share it in the chat. It's a free event, so whether or not you guys choose to donate, then you can still come. Whatever is not raised is going to be paid out of pocket by myself and JR, and we're going to make this happen because we had such a good time last time. It is another official Trump victory event. Team Trump is going to be there. We have been told that POTUS knows about it definitively. POTUS knows exactly what we're doing. I'm really praying that he's going to go ahead and tweet about it before it happens because that would just be so incredibly awesome. But please, you guys, if you live in the Ohio area or you live anywhere near, or you are like Trump Be Cool and several other amazing patriots who came from the other side of the country, come and hang out with us from 6 to 11 p.m. on October 15th. It's a Thursday night, and I'm going to be there doing a live podcast. I'm going to be hooked into the PA system, so it's going to be completely interactive with the people who are there. I'm also going to be interacting with the chat. It's going to be a great time. JR and I are going to be hosting it once again, and it should be a lot of fun. And, the big part for me is going to be watching President Trump walk out on that stage and stare Joe Biden in the face. Joe Biden's been afraid to come out of his basement since there was the word corona spoken here in public. Joe Biden, he does events for maybe 3 to 5 people. Our event had more attendees than all Joe Biden events combined since he announced that he was running for president. That should tell you something, guys. That should tell you everything you need to know about the direction this country is going. President Trump is the best president we've ever had in the history of this country. I know that's a bold statement, but I believe it to be true. You look at his record, you look at everything that he's promised us, and he's the only president that I can show you has followed through on virtually every single one of those promises. There's a couple of big ones that are still waiting in the wings, but I have complete faith that they will be made manifest as well. In the meantime, Joe Biden is telling lies about his record. He's comparing he and Trump's record and completely making stuff up. But let me actually show you this, okay? Because one of the things that Joe Biden wanted to lie about, he was talking about his record, he and Obama's record on clemency. Now, he claimed that under he and Biden, okay, so under the Biden administration, he claimed that 18,000 people received clemency, and that Trump only got 2 or 3. Now, I mean, generally speaking, you know, people in presidential administrations, they don't start handing out pardons and stuff like that, or clemencies until like the last couple of days. I mean, you look at Bill Clinton's presidency, and he just like in the last like 4 days, he went through and gave like some major bad dudes complete and total pardons. And, you know, Mark Rich, as an example, defrauded the American people for, you know, millions and millions of dollars, and some other really terrible people. But President Trump is giving clemency to real world people who made mistakes, and people who have shown that they want to improve their lives and that they're willing to help other people improve their lives. Biden put hundreds of thousands of people in prison, okay, with his crime bill with Bill Clinton before he was president. And then once he and Obama were in office, they barely gave anything back to the American people. They dangled that carrot, and Joe Biden's lying about it. He's lying about his record yet again. It's like when he said he went to Delaware State, or that he was the top of his law class. He was the bottom of his law class. I mean, it's funny how the projection will go both ways. They'll project negative things onto President Trump, and then they'll project positive things onto themselves. But we're not stupid. Everybody's paying attention now. The internet's forever.
Right. And just like you said, the internet is forever. Think about how the media used to be somewhat honest and cover these things. What's helped us on social media to point out the hypocrisy of stuff, especially around what Biden used to say. He said he was top of his class, all this stuff. We've seen the media actually report that he lied about it.
Absolutely.
And you know, just to watch it go in a different direction entirely. And that kind of brings everybody into Biden's orbit, and they need to be questioned and scrutinized. So I agree with you. And as far as this clemency thing goes, I mean, that to me would be, you know, that's enough to open up investigations into all of them. And I know that they should have done it then, and it's, you know, a long time, you know, coming, but, you know, we have a different, you know, attorney general now. We've got a different president now. I think that, you know, looking through all these things is what they're already doing, because we talk about this a lot, that we have, you know, we talk about Durham's investigation, and we talk about all the people that are in his orbit too, and all these other things that are going on, Burisma with Hunter Biden and all that. What other investigations are going on that we don't know about, or was brought up and then gone silent? Remember how they brought up Fast and Furious, how Mexico was asking for them to look into it?
Yes.
We found out about that, and then now we haven't heard anything. And that to me is how it should be. Investigate, and if there's any crime there, bring it. Otherwise, if they're innocent, which we know that they're probably not,
right,
then, you know, then have those things come public. And I think that a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, because just like you said, dangling a carrot in a different way, they have the dangling of the Spygate carrot going on.
Yep.
That everybody's crying for justice. They all want it to happen. What's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about? And I'm interested to see what breaks before the election. But then I think some of them are going to also break after the election, when Trump is already in the clear in his second term. As much as we joke around third, fourth, fifth, sixth terms and all that, and the idea that it's going to just be 2 terms here, then Trump would be unleashed and not have to worry about, you know, an election cycle, and then he could go scorched earth on stuff. I'm very interested to see what plays out. That's what I'm saying. I think each day I get up and I'm just waiting on a chyron on the news or something that's going to be just something breaking that's going to be huge.
I mean, you're right. There absolutely must be. I mean, as we said before, October's, the month to do it. It's right before the election. The closer we get to the election, I feel like let's say that something drops in the last week before the election, and it's something devastating. Not only is it going to be indefensible, but there's not going to be any time for Biden or anybody to really do anything about it. I think once we get midway through the month, that last 2 weeks is going to be insane. That's going to be the time that something probably pretty crazy is going to come out. And I would imagine that both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are going to have a punch and a counter punch. They're going to be looking to release these October surprises, and maybe they might wait, to see what the other one does. Because when it comes down to it, I mean, like, nobody wants to have a scandal out there that they have to defend themselves against, but they will save that ammunition to go against the other person. Now, in the case of Joe Biden, this is absolutely necessary. As you said, he is in the midst of, a variety of criminal cases that are happening behind the scenes in a variety of countries. And what you said about, people are used to leaks coming out. People are used to getting fed this information in the midst of a case when they're not supposed to. Okay. And so they don't hear anything, and they think that must mean that nothing's happening. But we're not supposed to know until it's all taken care of, and we've reached a logical conclusion, and the court has decided, and then we get the information that we need. Well, go ahead.
No, real quick, go over and hop on Paul Sperry's account. He's been tweeting a bunch of stuff during this show. American Man, thank you for letting me know about this. If you want to skim through it and see if it's anything worth covering, he's our favorite sauceless tweeter about stuff. But he's been involved for so long, and he's been on point about a lot of things. We at least like to pay attention to it. But really look at the tweets over the last hour, and I'll give an example. Breaking: FBI Director Wray insisted IG redact footnote 334 in IG report, which revealed the FBI had previously investigated Steele dossier's primary subsource, Danchenko, as a suspected Russian spy. Danchenko, unnamed in footnote, concealing note merely spared FBI added embarrassment. And he goes on with these stuff going on. Go ahead.
I mean, I've got this tweet right here. Threats from the FBI and clowns in America of gray mail, or the threat of revealing state secrets if cases go to trial, has also been hamstringing the Durham investigation, sources say. So the FBI and the clowns in America, and I don't know if that's Christopher Wray and Gina Haspel herself, or it's people within the agency. I would imagine it's a whole host of people within the agency. But this goes back to what I was saying before about these agencies being more interested in self-preservation and saving face than they are in actually getting to the bottom of real-world issues that are causing corruption to take place in their ranks. They don't care about the best interest of the American people, and that is difficult for people to understand or to believe. But when you realize it, when you accept the fact that these people at these agencies, and not all of them, there are good men and women in both the clowns in America and the FBI. However, the culture is corrupt, and the leadership is certainly corrupt. If Christopher Wray is making threats so that they don't include information, viable information, about the fact that this Russian agent was the one giving the information to Christopher Steele, and they already investigated, and they already knew, and they still went through trying to essentially remove President Trump from office, and they character assassinated General Flynn, and who knows how many other people, that's a real problem. If we are ever going to have truth and justice and an equal system of justice here in this country, that culture of corruption must be rooted out, and it must be destroyed. Now, that is not a partisan idea. That is not something that me, as being somebody on the right, is the only type of person that's going to say. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. If you're on the left or if you're on the right, it is in your own best interest that we have a system of equal justice in this country. We cannot give special preferential treatment to one side or the other. These agencies need to do their job, and they need to follow their own charters. And I'm sorry if the people among your ranks have broken the rules, if they have done things that are going to make your agency look bad. It is imperative, and it is upon you. I'm talking to you, the people in the FBI, the people in the clowns in America, the people in the State Department. Fess up to it. Put this information out. Admit it. Okay? Allow the American public to make up their own minds. And you can make it up to us. Okay? You can go ahead and admit everything bad that you and your agencies have done, and then take the time to become the agencies that you need to be and that the American people deserve. Because right now, we do not have that. There are good people, but I'm not seeing them. Where are they? Why is Durham and his team getting threats to reveal sources and methods, or to reveal things that would be damning to the U.S. government and these agencies? Why is that happening? Because these people are corrupt. They don't want the American public to know, but that's the great irony. We already know. We know exactly how corrupt the people in this government are, and they have been. We are going to find out so many things. Just get it over with. Admit it and fix it.
Hey, well said, and I really want to tamper with what you said too much on that, but the idea that they are willing to set their own house on fire by releasing sources and methods, which would then put families' lives at risk, operations at risk, the whole country at risk if they're willing to do that. So it's kind of a standoff in that case. But I agree with Red Pill entirely. Let the information out and let the chips fall where they may. And let's, and then if people are held accountable for these actions, then the American people will be behind it, because we've been thirsting for justice, for somebody to go down for these crimes. And if they were to do that and hold people accountable, imagine having all they would really have to do. I want everybody held accountable, but to have Brennan, be blamed for a lot of the things that come out about the clowns, and then have him handcuffed and perp walked in front of the American people, and then give the reason why, and then have a line behind him of people who helped him do it in the agency. That would help fix things and get in the right direction, because that's what needs to happen. Now, I do believe that we're going to have something similar to that, because if they're willing to blow up their own house so they can, as threats to where if you release this information, we're going to then hurt the country, then the information is that bad and they're calling for it. Now, I know that you've got the article from Just the News, Red Pill.
Yeah.
About the declassified. Do you want me to go ahead and just roll into that?
Yeah, let me get that. Well, first, before you do, there's new information that's come out from an FBI source. His name is Agent Barnett, and he testified that the special counsel prosecutor, Jeannie Rhee, a big Hillary supporter, was obsessed with Flynn and Russia and had an agenda. He said he became concerned about a get Trump attitude by Mueller's team. He said so last month he told investigators the Trump-Russia collusion case was built on supposition and a dumb theory. There was no evidence of a crime, and the Flynn case was used to get Trump. And that the amount of speculating and projecting and theorizing about possible Trump-Russia collusion became so absurd that he and other investigators began referring to the probe as Collusion Clue after the mystery board game. Now, this is what I'm talking about. We need more men and women like Agent Barnett to come forward and admit what their agency and what these other people in the government have done. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I've got the Just the News pulled up.
Yeah, and just I want to say this. If Paul Sperry is going on this rapid fire with information that we didn't necessarily know about, we could assume but didn't know, then there's got to be a D-class happening right now. So eyes on it on Twitter. If something happens during the next 50 minutes of this show, tag us in the chat. We'll go over it, because we are we are seeing the writing on the wall of this going on. And just like this Just the News article, U.S. intel to declassify more evidence showing why FBI Russia probe was broken from start. Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe has been authorized, which is what Meadows was talking about over the weekend about getting the approval from Trump. Authorized to declassify evidence showing FBI was warned Russia collusion probe was based in part on political dirty trick by 2016 Clinton's campaign. So like the collusion conversation we were having earlier, Red Pill, this is collusion with the FBI to keep this under the rug. And it's being portrayed as the FBI was told about this and they just didn't do anything and move on. But think about, to me, Hillary Clinton would be colluding with the FBI from the jump. That's just my gut. I don't have evidence here, but that would make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, I think that's obvious, yeah.
Right. So this information coming out, and I know a lot of people say, quit releasing documents. We're tired of it. Put them in handcuffs. You're literally being handed, digital bullets to use. that if we're digital soldiers, this is your ammunition, and we need to have these things come out, because like we always say, we could talk about things all day going on, but when you've got the federal documents and declassification being handed out from the DNI and everybody else that's giving you this information, this is how we make sure history doesn't repeat itself, by showing what happened. So to me, I'm very excited about this, because if you could tie the FBI to the Clinton stuff going on there, that is a slam dunk charge when it comes to Comey, and also McCabe for that rather. And then that would open up the investigation even further into what Hillary Clinton's email saying, because what were they covering up, which we all know was the stuff going on there. I think we're heading down this path, and this is just another plank on the stage that I'm seeing being laid down.
Oh, absolutely. Every single day in the month of October is going to continue to give us reveals like this. And once again, it's because of the shortened attention span that people all over the world have as a result of this consumable culture that we're in, 15-second sound bites, 7-second videos on TikTok, all of it just coming rapid fire, because people will just immediately forget and move on to the next subject. And this is why it's so important for us to stay on message, because the Democrats and the left do it so well. I mean, how many times did you hear Russia collusion or, Trump's taxes? I mean, it's just consistently over and over and over again. And that's how you get these people who are not doing the research and are trusting that the mainstream media is just giving them the answers. They just take that and they internalize it, and then they parrot it back out. And it's this self-perpetuating cycle. We have to stay on message, and we have to show people the truth of the matter, who President Trump is, who truthfully broke the law, and what needs to change. Now, somebody in the chat said that administrative officials, unelected people in our government are a danger. The administrative branch of government is the most dangerous aspect of our government. Elected officials get pushed out, and they can be reelected. You can put somebody else in there. But a lot of these bureaucrats are in there for life. Once they're in government, they've got a union position, okay? And it's very difficult to get fired. I mean, think back to that Project Veritas expose about the Democratic Socialists of America that were working within our government, actively moving as part of the resistance, using their work time and their work materials to produce, say, pamphlets and leaflets and make calls to try to get rid of President Trump, to organize rallies, actively and openly talking about their disdain for our elected president. And I don't know that too many of those people got fired. I think they might have gotten, a slap on the wrist or got told not to do it. But those people are dangerous. We don't need people like that in government. And there's a lot more of them than people realize. And, it goes back to, again, all of this corruption that these people know exist, but they are only interested in the preservation of their agency and this faux air of respect that they believe that they have and that they want to maintain. The FBI is supposed to be the premier law enforcement on the face of the earth. But then you find out, and like we've known this entire time, that they were essentially another arm of the Clinton campaign. And it's going to continue like that unless we get real and just, provable change taking place. Now, we've talked about Christopher Wray so many times. I don't know if I trust him. I don't know what to do. I don't know if, he's somebody who's on our side or if he's working against us. But the information that's come out recently sure makes me think that he is definitely not working in the best interest of the American public. That's the only responsibility that you people have. The doing the best job for your country and for the people of this country, that is the only thing that you should be worried about. What does the FBI do? They investigate, and they hand that information off to the Department of Justice, okay? And if they're choosing not to investigate, then they are not doing their jobs. And it's a sham. It's a complete and total farce.
Right, and as far as the rate thing goes, if justice happens that fixes, that towards anybody involved in Spygate or FBI corruption, and Wray wasn't involved in helping, and all we have is the stonewalling narrative, then there's your answer. But once we say again, if he is holding back, keeping things in line to where when the flood comes out of information, he just pulls the pen and allows it, and he doesn't mind history to remember him as being in the way, That to me is the 5% I'll hold on to as a possibility. If I had to put all my money on the table, it would be that he's just in the way. Trump put him in there, probably because the FBI is going to burn to the ground and let Ray go with it.
Yeah, let's do it. Go for it. We need something else.
Same thing with Haspel. What's the best way, just to kind of just war game? What's the best way to take down the clowns? Then have Trump put a clown in that knew about all these things going on before and is stonewalling the information. Then have the information come out anyways through Ratcliffe, DNI Ratcliffe.
Yep.
And then make Haspel have to answer to it. And then what you would see is Haspel would then resign instead of fessing up. And then you would have the full-blown attack of the Justice Department and rip the clowns building apart brick by brick.
That's right.
And start over. Give us a new name. Give us another, Space Force type name. Give us something new.
Yep.
And let's go in that direction. Now, real quick, before we get into anything else, we are halfway through the show, and I see over 4,800 people hanging out with us. Fantastic. Glad that you guys are here. 1.7 thousand likes. I think that we could get that to 2 real quick because you guys are awesome. And thank you guys for any donations or anything that you guys have done.
Yeah, also, I saw somebody named Garrett in the chat. He said he's a first-time listener. Garrett, thanks a lot for stopping by the channel. We're very pleased to have you here. I hope you like the show, and I hope that you stick around. You can always subscribe and then hit that notification bell. That's another time for me to throw a pitch out there, you guys. Please always make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you have selected all notifications on that notification bell. And if you have any questions about when you can catch shows on the channel, just watch the channel trailer. There is 7 days a week of programming here on Red Pill 78 in a variety of different formats. So I'm glad to have you guys here. Glad to have you here, Garrett. And I hope you tell people about the channel, brother. We're going to continue to do great things. So let's see. This is an interesting bit of information. I mean, talking about making the government do their job, well, when it comes to tax evasion, we can always be assured that the government's going to do its job. They've gone after John McAfee, which is not wholly unsurprising considering John McAfee's open attitude towards tax evasion, but they've actually indicted him. They say that he hid cryptocurrency, a yacht, real estate, and other properties in nominee names to evade taxes. Now, this is actually something I saw John McAfee talking about. He was saying that I don't own anything, but I mean, he has a lot of stuff, but he just put it in other people's names so that he wouldn't be able to be taxed on it. Now, cryptocurrency, guys, if anybody out there owns cryptocurrency, the IRS and the feds are really going after people for cryptocurrency. They are demanding that people report cryptocurrency. Now, this is really unfair, in my opinion, because you're buying cryptocurrency with money that you've already, received and that you've already been taxed on. So if you're taking your taxed money and investing it in cryptocurrency, and they want to know what it is so that they can tax it again, I mean, where's the fairness in that? This is one of those things that really gets my goat, because the federal government, all of these bureaucratic agencies, will do whatever they want. Okay, give us an unequal system until it comes to taxes, and then they tend to enforce it pretty universally, across all areas.
I mean, that whole thing about McAfee is very curious. Anybody that's paid attention to him, he talks about having information on all these people, which he very well should, with the kind of stuff that he was doing with his business. But then again, I've also seen him high as a kite live streaming, talking of nonsense. So I don't know what to think about this. I mean, we all knew that they were going after him, so it's not surprising that it finally happens. I just don't have much of an opinion about him because he's kind of all over the place. But
he's
just
a bit of a nut, yeah.
Right. I mean, if anything, it's been entertaining to watch in this whole movie. Just kind of step away and see what is McAfee doing. But just real quick, I sent you a tweet here. I don't mean to hop around, but our audience can keep up because they're smart. Son of a Green Card brought this up in the chat. This tweet that I just sent you, Red Pill, is a retweet from Maria, and then inside the tweet is a quote from Maria. And I guess we were right talking about information coming out I'm just trying to get this right. Okay, so I'll just read this real quick. So Maria retweeted this, and then we'll get to what she said. Devin Nunes to Maria Bartiromo. The documents, quote, the documents that are underlying that we've now seen, I've only seen a few of those. They're definitely smoking guns. That information definitely needs to be made available to the American public, end quote. Now, here's the tweet from Maria. Breaking news 25 minutes ago. 2 highly redacted documents about to be declassified regarding Brennan, Comey, and Strzok. We will have all the details tomorrow, blah, 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 on her show. We're about to get more documents. A highly redacted thing is probably a mess. But because think about the names that were just involved in that, Brennan, Comey, and Strzok, right? Mm-hmm. They would be in full-blown investigation. They would be investigated so much right now. Mm-hmm. It would make sense that they would have a lot of that redacted. But what's going to come out in this is going to be very interesting to me, because those right there, those 3 names are very important to what we're talking about with D-Class lately.
Oh, yeah, they are right there leading the pack in terms of this coup. Now, I think it was Kip in the chat said that tax evasion on crypto only refers to capital gains. When do they count the capital gains? Do they count it at whatever your gains are for that day, or do they count it when you cash in the crypto and then go ahead and get the benefit of those gains? Because crypto is fluctuating on a daily basis. You know, you might have, say like a $500 profit today, but then tomorrow you have a $700 loss because of the sways in the crypto market. I don't know the legality of it or how they're counting it. I just know that the IRS is now asking everybody to claim how much money they have in crypto. And then once, let's say that today you claim that you got $12,000 in Bitcoin, and then next year you claim that you've only got $7,000 because you had a loss. Are they going to try to tax you on the $5,000, saying that you took that out? I mean, the only way that they'd be able to verify it is if they're actually looking into your wallet transactions. But, I mean, I haven't heard of anybody go ahead and do that. Iceman cometh. I do play Skyrim. Yeah, I've got Skyrim, and it's pretty cool. I will tell you, I know that probably most people here are not gamers, but there's a game company called Bethesda, and I think that it encapsulates everything that's wrong with video games today. They will take a game and they will release it, and it will be nearly unplayable. Fallout 76, that's another Bethesda game. Skyrim, there's a lot of bugs in these games, and they just count on the fact that people are going to pay for them, and they're going to put up with the bugs, and then they can fix it at a later date. But yes, I do play Skyrim. Skyrim is pretty sweet. Methods, do you ever play Skyrim?
No, not at all. I mean, I play a few games here or there at times, but I mean, I'm definitely not going to have the conversation like you just had about it.
Okay, all right. Oh, there was another story. Oh, yes. This is in regards to President Trump's recovery. Now, he made a statement in his video message where just before he left the hospital the other day, and he told people not to fear, the beer bug. And then he put a message out on Twitter saying the exact same, and then he put a similar message out on Facebook. Now, both Facebook and Twitter deleted those messages to the American public. It's a pretty simple statement to make. Don't allow this to control your life. Don't have any fear about it.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that they're going to keep censoring and stuff because they need that narrative of fear to push the mail-in ballot stuff, and for them to keep control over their Democrat-run areas, and just kind of keep. I look at it as all these people are just kind of like different generals in this like undercover insurgent army that are controlling these different places and needing them to believe this hoax and get through the election so they can shoehorn Joe Biden in, which I don't believe is going to happen. Each day, I just kind of feel more and more comfortable about this. Mm-hmm. I definitely feel better than I did, and I'm sure a lot of people do. I'm probably preaching the choir. I feel a lot better now about this election than I do about 2016, at least leading up to it. I mean, watching that night and just seeing one by one, like, okay, Trump won this one. We didn't think he would win, but it's still probably going to be Hillary. And then we just see him more and more win. To me, I think that we're going to get more of the landslide type feeling in all this. And then it's just going to be fun to watch the media lose their minds.
It looks like there are more gamers in the chat than I realized. I've been considering No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is great. Half-Life Alyx. I'm considering starting a gaming channel where I'm just going to stream myself playing because it'll give me an excuse to play video games. So just keep your eyes out for that, guys. I'll publish it here on the channel if I do it. Now, so I got some more information here on this Facebook post. President Trump claimed that the beer bug is less deadly than the flu. Now, this is actually taken from the fatality infection statistics from the CDC that we were talking about, I believe, just like a week or two ago. So like the overall fatality rate if infected is like 0.003%, but the fatality rate for the flu is 0.1%. I mean, do the math. That's all you have to do is do the math, and you can see for yourself what the truth is. But that is too dangerous for the president to say, apparently. Now, President Trump, I think he kind of spoke out in regards to this because earlier today, not long before we went on, he put out in all caps, repeal Section 230. I can't agree with him more. You know, this is definitely something that I wanted to talk to Jim Jordan about, but I didn't have the opportunity. And I should say that Jim Jordan is a class act. He is a true American hero, absolutely loves this country. He handed out certificates to the veterans in the crowd last night. I got some video of him and JR. You guys can check the Twitter feed for that if you want. But Jim's a great guy, and he really gets it. He understands what's at stake. He has the president's back 100%, and it was a great meeting with Jim Jordan last night. Dinner was great, too. Thank you very much to the Republican Party in the area where we were last night. But, you know, President Trump saying repeal Section 230, I mean, this is exactly what needs to happen. These tech companies have taken Section 230, they have perverted it, and they have used it to their advantage, specifically to silence the voices of conservatives and people who don't believe or subscribe to the prescribed narrative. And President Trump, I think that this is one of the biggest issues, not only in this campaign, but in terms of freedom of speech here in this country.
Right. And if anything, let's say that he signs the executive order on this and just bypasses the House and all that stuff. Like, they're going to fight against it, right? And that's going to make it such a talking point. That would be the move, to make it at least a talking point into the election. And so I think Trump might do something. I don't have any insider knowledge on it, but I do believe like it would be a smart move to go after Section 230 with actual legislation and executive order before the election, at the very least, to make it a talking point. But yeah, and Connor out there in the chat is asking about Cyberpunk 77, that game that's about to come out.
Oh my God.
I will say this. I'm not going to freak out like Red Pill just did, but I am looking forward to that game as well. It's one of the few that I'm like, all right, I'll play that one.
I've already pre-ordered. And if there's a way for us to play like co-op online, then I'm totally down to do that. Yeah, so I am like every day I go into Steam and I just like look at it and I'm waiting for it to say that it's available for download. I also just got a Walking Dead game. I believe that just came out. And then there's another one, Saints and Sinners, that I've been playing as well. So yeah, now I also want to say, guys, when I say I'm playing video games, like I get like 5 to 10 minutes here or there, and it's usually at like 2 in the morning, like right before I go to bed. I wish, like, you know, it was like I was 18 again and I could sit down on my couch in my room in the basement and play video games for like 4 and 5 hours at a time, but it's not possible. And I feel like I need to be productive. I need to be doing productive things with my time and working for things like the re-election of the president. But we need to have Section 230 repealed. And I think that the proof is in the pudding right there. When they're deleting posts from the president, personal messages to the American people, the people who want to hear what he has to say, and he's saying things that are true. They're just deleting true statements, factual statements that he's making on his timeline. I honestly think that President Trump is allowing them to do this stuff so that it can be used as evidence against them.
Right. And I think that's why he says certain things. Why do you think Tom Fitton, for example, kept saying that HCQ is a safe drug day after day? And then finally somebody reported it. You know, enough people reported it to where Twitter looked at it and they couldn't take him down for saying it. Mm-hmm. And that kind of backed up the case. I do think Trump baits them with a lot of these tweets. because they know it's going to be read everywhere. It's how he can kind of control the news media. Of course, they're going to spin it after the fact, but they got to quote the president on what he says.
Yeah.
I do think we need to have the fix. I think it's going to shape. It's going to shape, especially platforms like this one, and then like stuff like Twitter and all that. Which to me, I just want Twitter just to fall apart and die, and let's just be on something else like Gab. But as far as having the freedom to be able to talk how we want to, and not have to worry about it, and not have the censorship thing, and just allow it to be a safe, even playing field, is the dream. And I think that's why it's important for us to keep harping on it and talking about it.
Absolutely. All right, so we're coming up on just a half hour left in the show, so let me just go through and give some thank yous. Dana Finkler, you down to do a live podcast with Sam in December. We'll get together with Sam and we'll talk about it. Let's see. Natasha says, Benny's thin red equals big thin thread, big red pill. So this is from yesterday. I'll go ahead and take a look at Bill Binney's thread, and maybe I'll cover it on the 6 p.m. show. Fans of Jimmy Century, FOJC TV on YouTube. Fans of Jimmy Century on YouTube. Thanks, buddy. And then Walter, there is a big Trump sign on the 405 freeway in LA. And that is actually something that we were planning on talking about next. Let me get that pulled up, because this is really goes to show you the direction that this country is going, and the incredible support that our president has. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. A Trump sign was erected on the hillside along the 405 freeway near the Sepulveda Pass. It's unclear who put it there. Now, it's funny because it's meant to look like the Hollywood sign, only it says Trump. And, I mean, can you imagine the manpower methods that would have taken? I mean, that's kind of high up on the hill. You had to have probably a group of people carry up, each of the letters. I would think that they would have done it, pretty stealthily, but tried to get it done all at once, because if somebody came when you've only got TR up there and then they make you stop, it's going to kind of take the wind out of your sails.
Right, but I love that they're doing it. I mean, and we know that on the side of the road that Devin Nunes, they had the signs up for him with the bale of hay. You remember hearing about that? It got set on fire. Well, they've already built a bigger and better one since then. It's going on. So I appreciate that kind of activism. Like, yeah, put up a Trump sign to where the news has to cover it. That's fantastic. I'm all about it. Now, will it probably be attacked and destroyed? Yeah, but that just shows the anger and animosity on the left. And it's kind of a win-win in that case, right?
Yeah. Now, the other good thing that's happening is, this is going back to the strange coincidence of all of the Republican people getting the beer bug. Okay, it was only Republicans, even though there were both Democrats and Republicans that were in Cleveland, and there were multiple senators. And I theorized the other day that it was possible that somebody was attempting to take away the majority Senate lead that we had, which would have potentially stopped Amy Coney Barrett from being confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. Now, Mitch McConnell called a lid until the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. And now today, Senator Cruz is out there confirming for us that the Senate does have the votes to confirm Amy Coney Barrett. He says, I'm very confident. I believe we have the votes. I believe we'll get it done, Cruz said during a Washington Post Live interview. As I see it, we have a solid 51 votes right now. And from the conversations in the conference, I don't see that changing. So obviously, this is very, very good news. Amy Coney Barrett must be appointed to the Supreme Court. She must get those votes, and the Senate has to come through for us. I truthfully believe that we will. If they have the 51, then we're going to be fine. And who knows, they could even have a couple more, holdouts, some fence riders there in the end, because those people, a couple of those people might be in the midst of election years. Who is it from Maine? Not Collins. I can't remember her name. I got a text message telling me that she needed our support because she's facing a tough race in Maine, or maybe it was Mass. I can't remember. I'd have to look at the text message. But she wasn't anybody that I really cared to support, and I couldn't believe that I was getting a text, where I live for somebody in Maine. I mean, they must be really desperate trying to drum up all this support. And I got like 6 more text messages this morning from a variety of Democrat and leftist NGOs begging me to vote by mail and telling me how dangerous it was going to be if I decided to go vote in person. And, you know, I'm sorry to tell you guys, I will be voting in person, not for you guys, but for them. We'll be voting in person to prove that it is a safe and secure way to cast your ballot. There's no way I'm going to trust anybody else to take my ballot and to submit it for me. You know, with all of the information that's come out in recent months, I think that anybody that chooses to have somebody just come and take their ballot and cast it for them, you're asking for trouble. And we've actually got some new information about that, you know, back over in Pennsylvania, more charges have been filed against an elections judge. Her name is Erica Bickford. This is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And apparently she was tampering with ballots. And she does, well, you know, they identify as she, we'll go ahead and say. And she's been charged with 2 election code violations, including prying into ballots. And Lee County District Attorney Jim Martin on Monday announced charges against this elections judge in Allentown's 3rd Ward, accused of tampering with ballots during the Democrat primary race for state representative between Enid Santiago and Peter Schweier. They even cheat in their own elections.
I totally agree, and I want to apologize to anybody having lunch right now for anything that's just shown on screen. But yeah, the whole cheating concept of the ballots, we know it, and I'm glad that people are being caught, especially this fine person that you've shown. I'm sure they're lovely, but I think that it's good to be called out in this case, and it's kind of setting the stage because you know. Based on, think about what's being said about the elections by the people that are looking into election integrity, all the different agencies that are doing that. Mm-hmm. They keep saying that they have things in place to take care of this. And we thought that it was going to be voter ID and stuff, but now we're just a few weeks away. Mm-hmm. Think about how much of a quote unquote like sting operation 2020 can be. I know we said this in 2018, but hear me out. To where some of these people get busted literally for trying to cheat during this election when they've been accused and they've been showing this election cheating for months with videos, Project Veritas and all the others. Having that come out would be great. Now, just real quick on the thing that you said about the confirmation hearing and how they want to push it. And, you know, even though they said that they've got the votes and all that, we've watched the House, for example, vote without a problem with using proxies for months. So I don't want to hear it that the Senate can't vote because the Rona is now digital or whatever McCabe said. I think that they will move forward with it, even if it's a 50-50 and Pence pushes us over the goal line. You know, there's been too much hypocrisy and it's been called out enough that you just keep moving forward and just let them keep barking in the corner. It's not going to change anything.
Yes, exactly. They are going to destroy themselves. Now, I just need to say, Trump be cool. Thank you very much for that. Also, our friend Dale Bercier. Dale survived the beer bug. Dude, I am so happy to hear that. I know that you were sick, and it's good to see you back here in the chat with us. Now, Rook Castle says, did Jim Jordan show you any wrestling moves? Yeah, he actually brought his mat. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. He walked in with it on his shoulder like this, and he just dropped it into the middle of the banquet hall, and he said, come here, champ, and then he showed me some moves. So yes, Jim Jordan, awesome guy. Julie says, thanks for all the work you do, and try to catch as many live videos as I can. Julie, thank you very much for being here. Also, Hey Jude says, our friend promised us an October surprise. I can't imagine. Was POTUS getting CV one of them? It very well could have been. I think that we are looking at a majority of October surprises. So Trump getting CV19, I think definitely could have been one of them. Now, Stan says, hope you got to see the Republican campaign sign I posted and tagged you guys on Twitter. They are all about stopping human trafficking. These are popping up in my area at every stoplight. We shoot straight here in Arizona. Stan, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to go look for it after the show. Barb, thank you very much. And then yesterday, Thomas, thank you. Richard yesterday, and Merle from the other day. So thank you guys all for those very generous donations. I appreciate that. These people are going to destroy themselves because they've been breaking the law for so long. They think that they can continue to get away with it, but the truth of it is that they're watching now. They're paying attention. I think they know what they've done in the past. I think they know exactly how they've stolen these elections, and I personally am not worried about the incoming election fraud that we're going to see inevitably. I think we're going to see a lot of people getting in trouble for it. Look for those really key areas where you've seen it a lot before, like California, Arizona, Florida, look here in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if you saw some stuff happening in Michigan. So many different states, I believe that they're going to have increased election, monitoring, and these people are going to get caught. They're going to get caught, and we are going to continue on with a second Trump term, and then of course maybe a third and a fourth. It should be good. Should be a good time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that the second term is going to be a lot different, and I think that we're going to be able to have a good time and drive things home. Offense is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, as far as this whole, I don't know if and when you're going to cover the American Thinker article, Red Pill.
Yeah.
But I at least want to give it to the audience for them to read, because it talks about it's the person who wrote this, Sally Z. I don't know how to say her last name. Basically is pointing out how it's curious that Republicans are coming down with the Rona as compared to Democrats, and kind of has American Thinker is a must to read anyways, but I'm going to drop this link in the chat for everybody to read later after the show, because it's definitely a great breakdown that it's basically a lot of the same things that I see people saying about it. So there you guys go.
Wow, there's breaking news from Project Veritas. Well, in regards to the Project Veritas story that we had very recently about voter fraud in Minnesota, another place that I believe is going to be fraught with fraud come November 3rd. But we have a story, a statement from Liban Osman. This is King Liban, the guy that was caught on video saying that he was committing voter fraud for Ilhan Omar. Well, now he's come out and he's told the local news that he was offered $10,000 by Omar Jamal to say he was collecting ballots for congresswomen. The only problem is that Omar Jamal was Project Veritas's insider in the Somali community. So I wouldn't take anything that he said after the fact as any kind of truth. The fact that this guy would believe that he could, hoist this fake news story on the public and on the Somali community just goes to show how stupid they are. And it also shows how scared Ilhan Omar and this guy are, because the evidence is going to show otherwise. He was never, in these videos, he wasn't talking about this guy, Omar Jamal. Omar Jamal is the guy who came forward and wanted to do the right thing. So, of course, Omar and her ilk are going to try to destroy him. Just a brazen display. Very, very insane.
It's the same kind of thing like when Pelosi got caught with, getting her hair did. Hairgate stuff, and then she turned around and then blamed them. That's the whole projection thing. And anytime they do that, kind of lets me know that, the case is in the bag here, and they're just trying to, the optics of being political.
Yeah. Now, of course, the left is going insane, saying over and over again that Project Veritas, has had numerous stories that were debunked. Not true. Absolutely not true. Saying that James O'Keefe is the one who Project Veritas offered a Somali man $10,000 to lie about collecting absentee ballots for Ilhan Omar so they can film it like it was some Sting undercover doc and share the video with their rabidly racist followers. They're trying to kill her. I hope that Project Veritas takes legal action against these people for this defamation and these defamatory claims. Now, of course, Tulsi Gabbard weighing in. Tulsi Gabbard is probably one of the only people on the left that I have any level of respect for. But the left is eating up this narrative, eating it up. But here's the thing. James O'Keefe and the people at Project Veritas are some of the only honest people besides Methods and I and a couple of other key people who are willing to do honest reporting and to say things that are true. And it's been proven time and time again, over and over again, Project Veritas has been vindicated in court case after court case. They get sued because they tell the truth. They get sued because they're willing to come out with factual information and expose this corruption and hypocrisy where it lies. And unfortunately for the Dems, it has been overwhelmingly within their own party. I can't wait to see what happens from the investigation by the Minnesota police, and I would hopefully there's going to be a federal investigation in the same manner. Now, let me actually, it looks like Alexandria Occasional Cortex has commented. They are attacking Tulsi Gabbard. It looks like she is, hold on, let's go ahead and take a look at this. It looks like she's defending Project Veritas.
Are guaranteed basic fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution. But we cannot take these freedoms for granted. I've introduced legislation to stand up for and to protect brave whistleblowers who've come forward to expose illegal actions within our own government or egregious abuses of power, and to reform the Espionage Act to make sure that if a whistleblower is prosecuted under the Espionage Act, that they will have their fair day in court, something that is currently not allowable under the law as it stands today. So first, I introduced HRES 1162 with my colleague, Congressman Matt Gaetz.
All right, so she put together that bill with Congressman Matt Gaetz to protect whistleblowers. Of course, Ilhan and Alexandria Sandy Occasional Cortex is going to attack Tulsi Gabbard for trying to protect whistleblowers, because the protections she would put in place would protect the kinds of people who would blow the whistle on Occasional Cortex and on Ilhan Omar. Good for you. Good for you, Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you for stepping across the aisle and working with our guy on the inside, Matt Gaetz, because right now, the way the system is set up is it's stacked against whistleblowers. Look at what happened to Nate Kane. The full weight of the FBI was brought down upon him, and they tried to destroy him and his credibility and to stop him from being able to work in his field and do the good work that he does for the government, protecting the people in the government, our men and women, risking their lives to save us and secure our freedoms. And Alexandria Occasional Cortex and Ilhan Omar are perfectly representative of what's wrong with America.
Yep. Some people did something.
Ooh.
Right. That would have been
that was a hot take.
That would have been the only thing that if I was James O'Keefe, that I would say back to them would be that. But yeah, to me, it's all expected at this point that we would be dealing with this fighting back and forth, saying who's actually got the truth, and then everybody piles on, and then it becomes a big fight, and then it's basically to win the public opinion. But I think that when documents and paper trails get to where they need to be, that's justice. And that's why I'm very glad that Trump's been able to appoint so many judges. And, we have a good attorney general. I believe in him 100%. I think that some of these things will be definitely handled for sure.
Canadian Deplorable 45 says docs just got released. Where were they released? Where can we find them, guys? Where can we find these documents?
I saw that in the chat. Heritage doesn't have anything dropped yet. I'm going to hop over to Technofog. And if anybody, send us whatever on any platforms, and we'll know about it.
Okay. So this is interesting. Gavin Newsom is suggesting that Californians and family members should wear masks while they're at dinner because they're so close to each other, and that they should only take their masks off when they're taking a bite of food and then putting it back on. How insane do you have to be to suggest such a thing? And then also, I'm sure you guys heard, because we talked about it a little bit, the Michigan Supreme Court decided that Governor Gretchen Whitmer, that she had basically shredded the Constitution and was acting outside of her powers with her emergency declaration and her mandates that she put on the people and business owners of Michigan. And she is refusing to stop using those powers, refusing to stop the rules and regulations that she put in, this baseless stuff for the people of Michigan. And it just goes to show you how dangerous these people are. Once they get power, there's no way that they're going to relinquish it. They're going to continue to hold it and hold it as tightly as they possibly can. And it is only going to lead to a greater slide into totalitarianism on behalf of each of these people. Now, one thing that is scary and at the same time hilarious is that Mayor Ted Wheeler from Portland is actually up for re-election this year. And it looks like he's actually has a real chance of being beat by the opposing candidate. Now, unfortunately, it's not somebody who is interested in law and order or a conservative candidate. It's a candidate that is even farther left than he is. Her name is, let's see, what is her name? I can't find it. Well, Sarah Iannoro, Sarah Iannoro, something like that. But she's a pro-anti-Fae communist candidate. She is leading Ted Wheeler. And look at this, you guys. She was photographed wearing a skirt with Mao Zedong on it. Look at that. If that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know, wearing the skirt with one of the most horrific communist dictators in the history of mankind. Millions of people died under Mao Zedong and his revolution, his people's revolution. So I think it's pretty hilarious that Ted Wheeler is looking at being ousted by somebody who's even further left than he is. Now, this goes to show you that the self-respecting people of Portland have all left. They're gone. Because if this is the choice, if you've got bad or worse, and that's all you've got, and people are choosing worse, there's nobody left in Portland. And Portland is going to collapse under the weight of its own revolution.
I totally agree. I've been listening to you, but I've been reading the Fox News article that dropped. I found what they're talking about.
Send it.
Yeah, I already sent it to you, but I just wasn't going to interrupt you because you said everything that needed to be said about it, and I agree with you entirely. But this article just came from Fox News. I'm not seeing the article yet, but they're quoting it if anybody else has seen it. But they declassed Brennan's notes. And exclusive director of national intelligence John Ratcliffe on Tuesday declassified documents that revealed former CIA director John Brennan briefed former President Obama on Hillary Clinton's purported, quote, plan to tie the candidate Donald Trump to Russia as, quote, a means of distracting the public from her use of private. Okay, yeah, we all knew this. But now we've got the quotes coming out of here saying that Brennan knew. And so basically everything that we knew that they were setting up is now being shown in document form.
Yep.
That Brennan briefed the President Obama about this. So he was aware of it. The FBI was aware of it, and somehow it was still, coincidentally able to go through. If we want to take Brennan and McCabe and Comey at their word, which none of us do, and even Clapper, then they knew all this stuff going on and didn't do anything about it, and it somehow still made it to being Spygate. Mm-hmm. I'm not buying that at all from them, and this is showing the documents of evidence of what could, what was said about, what did Barr say about all this? If we have evidence that can prove intent and prove the crime, then we'll hold them accountable. This is a part of it. All because it's redacted doesn't mean that they're not seeing what's behind those redactions. That could be very, even more important and more damning that could come out over time. Sometimes we get documents that are full, like a lot of redactions, and then they'll just release a part of it later. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. If anybody's got a link to the actual documents, please send it to us on any platform.
Absolutely. And thank you to Michelle on Cash App for that donation. Appreciate that. I'm looking forward to getting those documents, and hopefully I'll have them for the 6 p.m. show, and we can go over them in detail. Now, this is an excellent time to go ahead with our obligatory plugs for what we've got coming up, Methods. What's going on with your show this week?
Right. I mean, same schedule as usual. Scott from Woke Societies and I will be doing Methods to Madness episode at 2:30 Eastern tomorrow. And then on Friday, as of now, I don't think 412's got anything. We'll be doing the same episode at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday with him. And then, of course, Comfy Sunday with you.
Yep. On Friday night, I have a PhD. Her name is Ginger McKinsey. We're going to be doing a deep dive on the shenanigans taking place at Fort Hood. You guys, I don't know if you know, I've talked about it on the show before, but there is a abnormally large amount of servicemen and women going missing or being murdered at Fort Hood. Some really horrific stuff happening there. So we're going to be talking about that in detail. And then on Saturday night, it's the return of our good friend Tommy G. Tommy G is going to be back, so profanity warning in advance. Although Tommy G is going to attempt to not swear, I think we all know that it's perhaps a bit impossible for him to not at least let a few slide through. And then on Sunday, who do we have on Comfy Sunday?
Sunday, we have Dave from X22 Report coming to hang out with us. Perfect timing to have him show up as well. We want to pick his brain on what he thinks about all the stuff going on and what might break by then. Maybe these documents we can go through. But yeah, Excellent. It's definitely exciting times. A lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, very, very cool. It's going to be a great weekend. I think that every single day, like I said, every single day you guys can expect that we're going to have larger and larger revelations. This is going to continue to snowball, an avalanche, if you will, of information coming out. And although the Democrats and the right are going to attempt to counteract that with their own revelations about President Trump, it's going to be more nothing burgers. Look at the Trump tax story, which is dead in the water. If you read that New York Times article, then they basically debunk their own article because they go through how it is that President Trump only paid $750 in taxes. He didn't actually. He paid a lot of money in other ways because he owns businesses and he had to take a loss on certain things, and he's got more tax money that he has to pay back over time. It's not my fault, or it's not your fault, and it's not President Trump's fault that people at the New York Times are stupid and don't know how to use the tax laws to their own benefit. It is your responsibility as an American taxpayer to never pay more than your fair share of taxes. If you want to get taken advantage of by the IRS, well, that's your own business. And if the people at the New York Times want to go ahead and allow themselves to be taken advantage of and pay more taxes than they actually need to, then that's something that I don't really care about. I just want to say I hope that all of our California viewers maybe can get out of the state of California, or perhaps take action with the people who are attempting to create the state of New California, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to avoid paying all of those ridiculous taxes that Gavin Newsom and the state government in California are trying to hoist upon people. Just because the government of California has horribly mismanaged their own finances and spent all of their funds and their reserves on things that are not good for the people of California, that they don't know how to manage their own money. They want to spend money on people who are not citizens of the country or citizens of the state. It doesn't mean that you should have to pay more than your fair share. So if you take part in the creation of the new California state, perhaps you can remain in California, on your land, in your home, and you can secede from Gavin Newsom. I believe there's also a recall effort still going on in the state of California. I highly suggest that everybody take part in that as well. But I think that the new California state is the way to go. It'll give us some more Republican seats too.
Right. I mean, I'm curious to see how that plays out. Now, I do see people asking in the chat where they can find 412 Anon. He's got his show that starts here in an hour that I always try to catch Monday through Friday, so at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to drop a link to that episode itself here in the chat, rapid fire style.
Yep. So
you guys can go over there, hang out, and say that RP and M3 sent you. Let's blow up that chat over there. And as people are heading out for the door, make sure you click that thumb blue if you haven't already. And yeah, this has been another fun episode. Yeah. And I'm very excited to see, what plays out over the next day or so with these documents. And then we'll be able to talk about it on Thursday on that episode, assuming that you're going to feel better, man. We all want you to feel better. Yeah. And hopefully you're not going downhill with that illness.
Diamond Girl wants to know where she can get her refund on the way out. It was a free show. I don't know what you're going to get a refund for, but thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for being here. I want to especially say thank you to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Thank you to everybody who was here waiting even before the show began and who participated in the chat and who donated to help support the show. Don't forget about the GoFundMe for the MAGA meetup, which is coming up, and I lost the link, but coming up on October 15th. You guys can register on the GoFundMe. If you donate as little as $1, I believe, then you'll get the address ahead of time, and then you guys can be there to hang out with us on the 15th. Let me copy that link one more time. Copy link address. There you go. And then you guys can be there and witness the live podcast, hang out with myself and J.R. Majewski and a whole bunch of other amazing patriots. Be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. We will go over these new declassified revelations in detail. Thank you, Methods, for another incredible show. Had a great time today. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.